Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the fourth round of the 2021 PCA Sim Racing TeamRacing Series, live from the virtual circuit de Spa Francorchamps in Francorchamps, Belgium. This event of PCA Sim Racing is presented by Hagerty. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Hagerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Hagerty, the shop, and much, much more to fuel car culture. Hagerty, let's drive together. Hi, I'm Rachel Whiteford, alongside my colleagues Justin Prince and Taylor Burris, with our producer for this evening, Ryan Bauer. Ryan, of course, using those amazing Dougie Beard cameras. We are, like we mentioned, at Spa Francorchamps tonight. This beautiful, beautiful track in the Belgian countryside is 4.35 miles in length, or 7 kilometers, consists of 19 turns, and it originally opened in 1921, but that was not this layout. No, that was 14 miles long, winding through the Belgian countryside. This track, though, is a Formula One rated, amazing race circuit, which hosts 24-hour races, endurance events, Formula track days. Is amazing here. We are running for 90 minutes tonight with the dynamic sky enabled, of course, and our weather will be one of those things that will vary. Looking at what we're having in the sim here, it appears to be race conditions looking like we're going to be seeing about cloudy-ish sky here, Taylor, with 72 degrees Fahrenheit, track temperature of about 101. Winds are from the southwest at 8. That will be a factor. That's pretty strong wind there. Humidity about 50, but the partly cloudy skies, that'll be a big relief to some of these drivers.
It certainly is. It's going to help cool the racetrack a little bit to make sure that these cars can have a little bit more grip, especially in those high-speed sections here at Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. This track is going to test every single driver's limits on how they're going to be able to negotiate the tight, twisting turns, the hairpin at La Source, climbing up to the top of El Rouge and the Radillon, trying to make sure that they find the right amount of input to survive this 90-minute race will be very critical, as well as strategy involved in order for them to set up when to make the driver swap, when to come down to change tires and get fuel.
Very much will be. And just to bring you in here, Justin, this track is synonymous with some epic racing action we've seen in the past. Round 4 here. We're looking to be into some serious racing now with the season.
It's going to be an exciting race, to say the very least, because it's a track that mixes very fast speeds with very technical corners from one sector to another, because it tests you when it comes to how you handle trying to make your way up elevation changes, trying to draft your way by other drivers, how bold you are in some of the braking zones. But it also tests you in your ability on making your way through the technical parts of the racetrack to be able to consistently make up time where you need to go through some of the slower speed sections. It's going to be a test tonight for some of these teams to make sure they properly get their way through this circuit.
Very much will be. Well, let's take a look at how our groups will be working and what they comprise of in tonight's event. We have 3 groups. We have Group A, which are PCA Pro Driver plus PCA Pro Driver. Don't forget there is a driver swap component to this one. And that is our Pro class. Then we have Group B, which is Pro plus Club or Pro Plus Sport and Pro Plus Challenge. After that, we have Group C, which is Club and Club, Club and Sport, Club and Challenge, Sport and Sport, Sport and Challenge, and Challenge, giving us a good mixture of drivers and team performance throughout the field in tonight's event, which should be a really exciting combination. Speaking of which, look at what our standings are from the last couple of rounds, of course. And don't forget, there are 53 teams here that have competed so far in the series and attempting to score points. Group A is here. Lone Wolf Motorsports, which is Michael Polasek and Leon Van Halden, currently leading the way there, with Matrix Motorsports Blue behind them. We'll be talking more about those guys in a moment, with Cameron Martineau and Bill Anderson. And in third place, Imperial Motorsports Shake, with Matthew Kadakis and Chris Pies. If we go down towards where our Group B is, you'll see here, We Was Robbed Racing of Robert Rattray and Ed Eisenring, with Q-Cup Racing, Ian Simon and Joshua Vieira, and Equip Vitesse with Jared Rodenhaver and Lynn Wilson. Group C's top three right now are Gen Pop Racing, I hope they're not in Supermax currently, Jeff P. Smith and Kevin Douglas, Matrix Motorsports Green, Klaus Nielsen and Matthew Siddle, and ARPCA Daves with Dave Craig and David K. Palmer. At least, unlike Jakester Racing, these guys contain people named after their team. I'm sorry, but Jakester Racing will acquire some heat tonight. This is something I can't avoid. They contain no Jakes. This vexes me in many, many ways. But I digress. We've got some time left in qualifying right now, and as we are out on track, we're seeing those coming in here. Everyone has so far set a time, and we'll still see them trying to do that, but one of the things that's going to be tricky here, of course, Taylor, is you go slightly off on one of these lines here at Spa, that's instantly an off-track, your lap's ruined. You've got to stay within those curbs at all times. You can barely put a wheel off.
No, you certainly cannot, Rachel. It's very important to try to stay on that black pavement here in between the two white lines when negotiating this circuit, because just the slightest off will give you either that 1x or that time penalty, which everyone does not want to get, especially at a track like this where momentum and making sure you hit your marks to keep up with your competitors as well as keep up times are going to be very important. So drivers are going to have to make sure that they follow the racing line and survive here tonight. So we'll keep an eye on that as we see some of our competitors finishing up qualifying here in the final 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, we certainly are. And qualifying is coming into those last couple of minutes now. We'll be going to race start at 1/4 the hour. But I believe we have some information on Matrix. They've been making some changes.
Yeah, they certainly have, Rachel. Matrix Motorsports has had a new driver lineup. Of course, they've already been fielding a couple of cars in the Endurance Series, but they decided to add an additional 3 more cars, along with 7 new drivers to Matrix Motorsports. Drivers such as J.R. Gregory, Glenn Dennis, who we know from the PCA competition, along with Jonathan Waltman, Matthew Scott, Aaron Nations, Adam Holland, and Joe Sinclair will be joining the returning drivers for the remainder of the PCA Team Endurance Series. So it's great to see these drivers who are working their way through and how the PCA is coming together to work together and build these great teams, because Matrix Motorsports is one of these top teams in PCA competition, Rachel, that we've seen, not just in the Endurance Series, but also all other PCA events that we have seen since its inception.
Yeah, they really are. They've been a long-standing team in this, and we've seen so many people compete in this team sport event, and now we have 33 teams on the grid tonight, which is huge. Looking forward to seeing how these guys all fill out the racetrack. But it's going to be a really tricky event here. 90 minutes around Spa is no joke. And of course, they do have to get that driver swap in. We've had some amazing events so far this season, but this one is setting up to be a real challenge for them, because Spa does not forgive, nor does it forget. This might seem like an easier one, but let's not forget that our current leaders in Group A and B won the last round at Spa Francorchamps, of course, which was the Operation Motorsport Special. And in Group C, Point Break Esports actually won, with Gregory Sampson and Will Kelly, with ARPCA Davis in second and Gen Pop Racing, your current points leaders, in third. So Gen Pop have been consistent, but not always winning. That is something to keep our eyes on in tonight's event. Whereas we look at the Imperial Shake teams, or Imperial Motorsports Shake and Bake, Baker's currently leading out Shake, but Shaker ahead in points from the last round. So it's going to be interesting to see how this does actually unfold. And Justin, we've got some great races coming still. Don't forget, we have coming up in 2021, obviously Spa here. We've got September 15th, we go to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. And October 27th for the final round, we go to Suzuka. Two amazing tracks.
Absolutely. When it comes to the racing they produce, they put on some exciting shows, but in two different ways. When it comes to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, of course, that racetrack has a lot of great passing opportunities that run up to the final few corners down the hillside. Is one of the most action-packed parts of all of iRacing, in my opinion, all sim racing, when it comes to racing there as well as in real world motorsports. When it comes to Suzuka, meanwhile, you have a track that is also known for hosting Formula 1 Grand Prix as well throughout time, and is one where it challenges the competitors indeed when it comes to its technical parts of the racetrack. So the next few rounds are going to be very busy, but I think this round is going to be one that'll be very difficult for the drivers to conquer.
I think you're absolutely correct there, and in fact we are ticking across to our setting here for the start of the race. It's time for your grid. Lone Wolf Motorsports are out front here in your pro class with second place, Matrix Blue, with TDRA Racing in third there, with Imperial Motorsports Shake in fourth. The grid though seems to be a little bit mixed from what I'm seeing here. Our second class actual starter from Matrix Green there in fifth place, with sixth place Imperial Motorsports Bake. And it's Schlonsan Dream Team in seventh from Class C, with the Class A Redwood Racing and Huth Brothers Racing in 8th and 9th. 10th is We Was Robbed Racing from Class C.
Starting in the 11th position will be Q Cup Racing, followed by the Equip Petits Racing Team in 12th position. Hammered Unicorns will be starting in 13th, followed by the House Cat Racing Team in 14th. TGR Racing will be starting in 15th, followed by Matrix Motorsports Purple in 16th. Gym Pop Racing, we touched on them earlier on. They'll be starting in 17th, followed by ARPCA Dave in 18th. The Matrix Motorsports Red Team will start 19th, and rounding out your top 20, Team GP Sim Sports.
Two Bad Drivers starts in 21st position, with Turtle Racing starting right in front of Angry Turtle Racing. Very formidable, that combination, with Canyon Carvers in 24th, with Hoser Racing 25th, Matrix Black 26th, Measure Racing 27th, WWZ Red in 28th, Jigster Racing 29th, Pegasus Racing rounding up the top 30.
The final three tonight are ZG4 Ohio with Los Muchachos Motorsports and IMS Racing bringing up 33rd. Pace car is off. Lone Wolf Motorsports will hold the start here as we come to the line. And green flag flies. Our top four have got a huge gap here as we get racing right down towards Lecum for the start of tonight's event. 2 by 2. Lone Wolf, Matrix Blue, TDRA, Imperial Shake, all in the group there as they'll come down here so fast. Heading now towards Eau Rouge Radion Complex. Behind them, it's going to be Matrix Green, Imperial Bake, Schlonsan Dream Team, Redwood Racing in a pack here with Huth Brothers and We Was Robbed Racing bringing up the rear of that group as we climb up the 3-story elevation change that is Radion and down the Camel Straight for the first time tonight.
That's very great racing now as they work down the Kemmel Straight. We'll see a couple of cars peeking out towards the back half of the top 10, but as they work their way through this set of chicanes, it's a great battle to see towards the middle of this pack to see who will come out on top. But for our race leaders, they're now just trying to get into the rhythm now and set themselves up for a long 90-minute race.
Very much does here as we'll come through and down towards the middle portion of this racetrack. Spa Francorchamps really does offer a humongous elevation changes, very much the Belgian roller coaster of racetracks now as we'll come through towards... my brain has done one of those moments where you forget the corner names, which shouldn't be happening to me at this point.
Either way, this part of the racetrack is one of the more technical portions where you have to make sure you get some good momentum to be able to carry a run towards Blanchimont, Rachel, because you go off track too far, you end up potentially losing momentum and/or hitting some of the sand and getting yourself in trouble. So this is also going to be where drivers are going to have to be very careful to make sure they're making their mind clear of those off tracks with how close it is to go off the circuit there.
Yeah, they very much are, and as the leaders now come into the chicane, the bus stop here at Spa, that final corner. The word I was looking for was Lefange. I always forget that corner name. It's the one that always gets me of everything, and I realized I called La Sauce Lecum, but je n'ai pas le français. What can I say? As we come now through, again, La Sauce for the second time here. Going to climb up Eau Rouge Radion for that second time. We're seeing some movement a little bit further back here, Justin, as guys are trying to get themselves sorted out on this racetrack. Very clean green start to this race. No major problems from what we've really seen here. Measure Racing a little bit further back. They had a solo moment for themselves, as we do have some conflict in La Sauce.
Yeah, Pegasus Racing just went around, in fact, and slammed hard into the inside wall as they ended up snapping around while under braking. So their car significantly damaged and bounced off a couple of our competitors as well. So that's not what you want to have happen early on in this race. Already that car pulling off.
Yeah, not a great start for those guys. Unfortunate for them, really. Not what they'd want to have happening here as we come through the second time on the track. Everything nice and easy, dropping down towards double gauche, towards the bottom here. The double left-hander, which is a tricky one here, of course, Taylor, because it's not just a double apex left, it's a descending double apex left, which really wants to throw you out wide.
It certainly does, Rachel. When you're going through this section of the course, you have to make sure you try to hug that inside for that first apex, track out just a little bit, but watch your turn in when coming through that second apex and setting up, of course, towards the fangs and getting set up for this little quick left-right complex before heading into turn 14, which is very critical. But drivers are trying to make sure that they hit their marks here in order to set up for turn 15, making sure they don't track too far off the track in order to get that needed unnecessary time penalty to make the run down towards Blanchimont.
Yeah, that is true, as Blanchimont now for your race leaders coming through the field in towards the bus stop chicane yet again. We're starting to see some movement as guys start to group here at the front of this field. We're seeing a big jump by Lone Wolf Racing, which is Motorsports, who are making the gap we expect. We've seen it before from them, as a little bit further back, we're seeing a big concertina effect as the grouping has really kind of stayed together and got a bit closer here after that very kind of broken up start. The bus stop here, Taylor, it's a tricky one to do for a start with this, the formula starting point for a rolling start. So these guys did a pretty good job, and they're starting to build that time back up again.
They certainly are, Rachel, and it's important to get through the bus stop chicane because that's where we could see a lot of chaos happening when a group of cars are working their way through the bus stop chicane. So you have to make sure you keep your head on a swivel and focus on what's going on around you while you're entering the braking zone. It's a great passing opportunity. We will see that happen throughout the racing here tonight with competitors wanting to try to set up a pass coming out of Blanchimont into the bus stop. But it can be very treacherous to where it could cost you major issues and possibly out of tonight's race.
Yeah, and you have to be incredibly careful here because Spa is a place where you can catch yourself out rather than other drivers. So you've got to be very much aware of that fact. Looking back a little bit further in the field, we'll see what everyone is up to in tonight's event. On board here with Matrix Purple, and is Mike Patterson behind the wheel for those guys. Running back in P24 at the moment here. Running deep in our field. But a good group of drivers around them as they come through. And Purcell down towards what I call cow corner because that shed looks like a cow when you see it on camera. Into double gauche. It's 23rd Robert Collette from WWZ Red there. Their car always looking incredibly vibrant. Great paint schemes on those guys. To Lefange now, the two 90-degree corners, the right and the left. As we just saw there, Matrix Purple went very, very wide actually in Lefange, which is letting ZG4 Ohio get through. In fact, they made that pass stick. Nicely done for them. But a little bit further up here, coming into the bus stop, we're seeing the leaders now coming through.
About this battle right here. This is the battle for overall position of 8th and 9th. But Rachel, this is your Group C race lead battle between Jordan Dyer and Robert Rattray. The Scotland's Dream Team versus the We Was Robbed Racing Team. As they come out of La Source, you see Dyer go a little bit wide. That allowed Rattray to try to take a peek to the inside in order to see if he can get there. Not close enough to make any passes. But as they make the ascent up through Arouge and Radillon before heading down the Kemmel Straight, keep an eye on this battle here. The Kemmel Straight is a great drafting opportunity to get close enough to your competitors to set up for a great passing opportunity heading through Les Combes and Malmedy. As we watch on here, you also have James Hughes in the background, so it's a 3-car battle for 8th position overall, but this is your Group C battle for the race lead.
It really is, and it's great to see this time actually that we're seeing the groups mixed together, where we're seeing Group A, B, and C all basically racing on who's fast. You know, they're racing for their own points and their own championships in this, but we're seeing guys with a different class fighting amongst people from another, which definitely changes the dynamic here, because the guy ahead of you may not be for position. It may be actually for a different race entirely, so it's going to provide different challenges, especially with the cars all being equal.
And it's going to make things interesting to keep things in mind when you're battling along, because you of course want to be able to keep on progressing forward on the racetrack and don't want to get yourself held up at one mark or whatnot, but you still want to be able to put yourself in a position where, say you're in a position battle and you have various classes separating, there is the chance you can use them as a buffer car, for example. So there is that option available. But as this is all going on, keep in mind Michael Polasek is pulling away from the race lead. He has currently got about a 2-second advantage.
Yeah, he really does, and this is massive for him right now. Exactly what he needs. Matrix Blue behind him. They're holding good ground, but 1.7 seconds at Spa. It puts you outside, Taylor, the draft window. And that is massive for these guys, because Spa is a huge draft track. Once you're outside that 1 second ballpark, like Rafael Amarim is there and Cameron Martineau, it really puts them in a tricky position, because gaining time is harder. The gaps, in fact, they're all split up by more than a second, more than 2 seconds in all these cases. So it's meaning none of them are helping each other.
No, it certainly is not. So that's going to be one of the tricky situations to where strategy would have to come into play for drivers like Cameron Martineau or Rafael Amarim to try and catch up to their competitors, especially race leader Michael Polasek in that Lone Wolf Motorsports 747 Porsche. Now, the rest of the field right now, from about 3rd on back, they're a little bit closer, anywhere between 2 to 3/10 of a second, especially with the Imperial and Redwood Racing team. But then you go another second back, plus back, to the Matrix Green team, which is driven by Matthew Siddle right now. That's when you'll start to see a little bit more closer gaps to where we'll see small clusters of cars where they can utilize that slipstream. But for those who are farther away, 2+ seconds apart, that's when they're going to need the strategy to help them to come out on top to get ahead of their competitors.
It is, and we're looking at Matthew Siddle there, Matrix Green, as they're running through Double Gauche. Now, Leif Peterson there from Imperial Motorsports Bake. The Shake and Bake boys always put on great performances in these events, ones to watch for certain. But we mentioned earlier, we talked about Matrix and how many cars have got entered in this series. It's insane. How many are we up to right now, Taylor?
Well, if we take a look at all the Matrix Motorsports cars, you got one in 2nd, you have one in 6th position, and a little further down, you have one in 24th, 29th, and 32nd. So a total of about 6, maybe 7 cars, but a whole bunch of new drivers who are going to be out there debuting in those famous Matrix Motorsports colors that we're so fondly of seeing each time we see a PCA event.
It really is, and this second grouping here, a little bit of near contact there, a bit further back between Imperial Motorsports Shake and Redwood Racing as they came through the bus stop, but they cleaned it up. No real problems for the two of them. But these gaps start to really widen, and someone just referred to Polasek as the Hamilton of last season. Once he gets the gap, he's gone, and we're seeing that exact thing here. He made another 0.4 per second last time. Justin on Matrix Blue and Cameron Martineau. And we know Cameron and Polisek will race each other hard in the regular season. They're pretty close, but right now, Lone Wolf Motorsports, they're blasting off.
Yeah, just hitting their marks consistently. That's the main thing, by at least a few tenths per lap of the early going so far. And when it comes to practice times, keep in mind, they were trading times back and forth for a good portion of that session. Where it changed was in the closing stages, where they bumped up their time by as much as 0.6 per lap. So, when it comes to a driver like Polisek, though, you know he's a very talented competitor behind the wheel. We've seen him be able to gain a lot of time week in, week out in the past. It's no surprise that he's been able to get this consistent gap so far built up by being very consistent in this section in particular.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that's exactly what we're seeing here as we look a little bit further back there to the TDRA Racing. Rafael Amorim there, one of those very, very fast drivers. Third place, of course, a pro team again, putting in some good lap times. Last time by 2:14 for them. So all cars really running about 2 seconds off qualifying times. As we was Rob Racing, your leaders in Class C. We with Rob's guys are doing a great job because Robert Rattray driving that car at the moment. Matrix Green there, Matthew Siddle. Those guys filtering through up here towards... Yeah, they're leading Group B from what I've just been told. Heading now through Blanchimont towards the bus stop once again. And this weather seems to be really playing well to these cars from what I'm seeing, Taylor. We've not had any problems for them. The wind has dropped slightly, 2 miles an hour down now to only 6, same direction, southwest. But it's definitely showing that it's feeling like good conditions. We've seen no looseness. We've seen no cars getting a little sideways. Everyone's really got good grip, and they're putting in some great times.
They certainly are. Just to put in perspective of how close the competition is, the last time around for these drivers in your top 20, the gap is only just about 2 seconds, and that's 20 competitors who are going nose-to-tail, running very consistent lap times amongst each other, from 2:14 time brackets to about 2:16. So that just shows in the consistency as well as the competition of this PCA Team Endurance Series. There's a lot of great talent that we've seen competing season after season, year after year, since the PCA Sim Racing Series has come on board and done this. And it's very great to see the growth of talent for some. Drivers like former champion Michael Polisek, started off as a very fast competitor, but could never seem to get those finishes that he needed. After some more time, some more training, he then comes home to be a former champion. Of course, you have the Imperial Motorsports team, who is on a pure dominant run in PCA competition, winning the past 2 PCA Sim Racing Series championships, with Leif Peterson being the Series 5 champion, Christopher Pies being the Series 6 Pro champion. So that just shows the amazing talent that we see. And Cameron Martineau from last season's Series 6, Rachel, had an excellent performance as we have trouble on the track.
Do indeed. That was Matthew Siddle, Matrix Green, off the track there in the Fange. I'm trying to find out what happened to them, but it was, we had some contact. They moved across here on the Porsche there belonging to, I'm trying to work out.
Leif Peterson.
Yeah.
Leif Peterson, yeah. That was Leif Peterson's car. So unfortunately, that was the Imperial Motorsports Bake, car. They moved across the nose of them, so they kind of turned themselves, unfortunately, trying to take that line. They thought they were clear. They weren't quite clear. Unfortunate for those guys, but we're looking at Jordan Dyer here in the Schlanzheim Dream Team. But this pushes Green down the line. They had some heavy contact. They're only just getting moving, in fact, back in La Fange. They're through Blanchimont now, but that's a huge hit to the Matrix team.
Yeah, and it was in the midst of all of this where they were battling pretty hard in this grouping right before that situation too, where there was near contact at the bus stop about a couple laps ago with how close they are in the braking zone. This entire group is all tied together very tightly. So at this point, it's the matter of, will they keep on fighting now in this group, in my opinion, or is that the cork in the bottle? Right now, that draft is seeing it become a cork in the bottle.
Yeah, it really is, and it's what will change these events and what will change the points layout, of course, because Matrix Green have been having a fantastic time, and this will really impact how they're doing this. This will hurt their overall racing performance, so not what we really want to see for them. They were currently sitting 4th in Group C, and this will affect that. They will drop now.
It certainly will, and that now moves the Q Cup racing team to that class lead right now. They're currently sitting 10th overall with Jason Stanley behind the wheel of that number 944 Porsche. You're right on board with him right now in a decent little pack of cars. That's about from 6 on back, maybe 5th on back as well. So this is a good opportunity for the Q Cup racing team, who currently right now, Rachel, if we take a look at the point standings, it's sitting pretty good. They finished out in currently 2nd in the point standings after that race. So they're looking to maybe see if they can get a top or a good finish here in the B class.
I think that'd be huge for them, of course, as we play through. But, you know, I just wanted to talk about something that happened recently. But, of course, we had the 2021 Porsche Parade recently, and that took place the past week, I think it was, in French Lick, Indiana. And there were nearly 300 people there got the opportunity to try out sim racing at the PCA Sim Racing, I'd say stand, but it wasn't a stand, it was a whole room they had, which is insane for these guys. They had, I believe, 3 computer stations running for them, and they had people able to just come and do some driving. They had fast lap competitions. They had scheduled times in the sim where people could actually come and book some time for it. And I think it was Matt Scott in the Mid-Ohio region took home the prize of a whole computer system with his fastest lap at Laguna Seca of a 124.331 in the Porsche GT3R. I think it was Jeffrey Prince and in 2nd place as well, and Thomas Briggs in 3rd for that one. But we had a lot of good competition going on for those guys there. Huge numbers of people coming in to try things out, which was insane. And of course, they were, as always, sponsored by Haggerty, Z1 Software, Pirelli, Michelin, and Porsche, helping to make this whole event possible for those guys. So hopefully turn some new people onto sim racing in the Porsche community, which is, of course, an amazing thing, especially with how it gives accessibility to racing. It can take someone from just an owner to somebody who's willing to try out the sort of side of motor racing.
Absolutely, and having those opportunities is so critical for many people to be able to have that opportunity experience to learn what it's like to race on the sim. And it's a unique experience, to say the very least. And not sure what your thoughts are on Taylor. It's a very impressive scenario that can bring more drivers to the sim.
It certainly can. I mean, if we take a look at the PCA competition as well, from its inception back from Series 1, it was only a small group of people, about maybe 20 cars or plus, who would be able to work their way up into the series. Now, we're now running multiple different series, multiple different classes of cars and drivers, and it's over 100 different members who come out and compete, as well as also other features that the PCA Sim Racing Series offers to new and up-and-coming drivers to PCA.
And the PCA is always about that sort of thing, and it's exciting to see new people come to not just racing, but sim racing, and to the PCA, of course, here. And the fantastic work these guys are doing, and the whole steering committee does with PCA Sim Racing, bringing those Porsche Club of America members to the world of motorsport in a year that has been incredibly difficult for everybody. And if anything, I think it's something to be absolutely applauded that these guys have kept this community so strong. There's Redwood Racing, by the way, making a pass here on TDRA Racing on the Campbell Straight. Side by side there, Redwood going to have the advantage. I'm guessing they're from California, given the livery on that car, but making it through and making a great and successful pass there. Dave Schwartz doing a phenomenal job behind the wheel of that car. But like I was saying, Taylor, the PCA, they've basically brought racing to people during a year where going outside was hard, and where it's still a hard thing. It's still difficult. It's still problematic, and they've brought people together.
It certainly has. I mean, don't get us wrong. They miss doing these PCA events, but from in the real world. But thanks to iRacing and sim racing in general, it has allowed members of the community to get together, have fun, talk all things Porsche, talk all things Porsche racing in the sim, and learn from each other, communicate, talk about what they can learn to help improve their racing skills. This is all a big family, the PCA community. And it's just so amazing. I remember about a year ago, before the pandemic started, myself and James Pike actually had the privilege of going to the Rolex 24 with the PCA, and the camaraderie and hearing of the stories of what made them want to be a part of the PCA, what made them want to become a Porsche owner, and then joining the Porsche Car Club of America, and some of the things that they do outside of dealing with Porsche is phenomenal. And it's always a blast to learn. And of course, when it comes to Porsche, there is no substitute, and it's pretty much one of the best sports cars in the world.
I think that's pretty easy to say there, of course. We are coming down on our hour mark here, nearly 30 minutes in the bag. We have about 7 minutes remaining on this first 30 minutes of our 90-minute race here tonight, and we've had some movement, but the gap was actually 2.4 seconds, but Matrix Blue dropped back hugely last time by, just in 3.5 seconds back now from 2.4 on Lone Wolf. They gained a second last lap by. That is massive. There was a 2:15.2 last time for them and a 2:14.1 for Lone Wolf. Polasek has got rockets on that car. Can the adjudicators come down here and check that car, please? I think it's got JTO attached to the back of it or something.
I think that's just the Polasek effect coming into play. When it comes to speed, it's going to be curious later on how things play out, but keep in mind, before that time growth that went back Polasek's direction, Matrix Blue was starting to close on in a little bit by a couple tenths over the past couple laps. Then they started making a few mistakes where they had to lift off, cost them some time. And examples such as what we see on screen are where you're probably going to have to lift off to make sure you don't slide into a tire barrier or go off into the sand trap. That being said, it's still going to be intriguing later on how strategy can come into play to try and close up the gap, to see if they can try and find something on pit lane, whether it's a little bit less fuel, trying to time things up with the tires, etc., to try and get things to work. Because for Matrix Blue, with the gap right now, there is that chance where they may need to try and pull something off strategy-wise early goings, or at least have to be thinking about that right now.
Yeah, that would be a big factor for them. They need to consider those sort of things, because this is an endurance race. It's only 90 minutes, but there are driver swaps, there are pit stops. You've got to think about long-term conditions in this sort of thing. And you know what? Just as you were saying that, I think I realized what it is. The Polasek effect is a lot like the Vin Diesel effect. It gives you 14 extra gears.
I mean, if you have 14 extra gears, though, you still need to have the horsepower to use the gears.
Come on, we don't go down that road. This is like Fast and Furious logic. You just keep shifting, and it keeps going faster. That's how it works, right?
Yes.
Okay, so right now we're looking at things as they're playing out. Johnson Dream Team leading the way for Group B. Group C is Pegasus Racing right now. That's not actually Pegasus Racing. It's actually Hammered Unicorn Racing, which is, if I may say, a phenomenal team name. Hammered Unicorns. What a there's some great teams, of course, as always, and Angry Turtle Racing is another fantastic one, like Los Muchachos Motorsport, the Crayon Carvers. It's great. Again, we can't talk about Jakester Racing. They contain no Jakes. Housecut Racing, unfortunately driven by people, but Hammered Unicorns, I love that. That is amazing. It just sounds so funny. That's Tamer Elbaga and Daniel Rubel, but I'm just thinking of Drunken Unicorns now. Thank you.
Well, a good note right quick, Rachel. If for anyone who is watching PCA, if you are a PCA member and a PCA Sim Racing member, if your name is Jake, please try to put your application with Jakester Racing, so that way we can put a Jake in the Jakester Racing Porsche. Bonus points if you do work for State Farm and wear khakis.
And I'm pretty sure Jakester Racing should be sponsored by State Farm, but that is a subject for another day, as keeping our eyes on things right now. Hammered Unicorn's actually under attack here by Equip Vitesse. Behind them, they're currently running 11th overall in the field. Look back there towards Equipped Vitesse. It would be good though if Gen Pop Racing did comprise either convicts racing in jail, and now I have an image of people with sim rigs set up in an actual jail. But it's a great idea for a team. Two bad drivers, I'm pretty sure they're being hard on themselves. Turtle Racing is also a good one.
Angry Turtles.
Oh, Angry Turtle I think is better than Turtle Racing, just saying.
What?
I think they may be associated with each other, but I like Angry Turtle better because the concept of an Angry Turtle just seems fun. But hey.
Well, Angry Turtle Racing right now is currently behind the Turtle Racing team with Jason Burdican in the Turtle Racing Porsche in 18th. Angry Turtle Racing, Mario Gonzalez sits 22nd. So the Angry Turtles might have to get a little bit more angrier in order to get up to their rivals.
I completely agree with you, yes, and we'll see how that one does play out. But before we move on from being quite so funny about team names, Justin, you've heard of the turtle and the hare, but who's faster out of an Angry Turtle and a turtle?
Are we talking hypothetically or in terms of cars?
Existentially, of course.
Okay.
He's lost it. He doesn't know where to go with this one.
Yeah, I am trying to. That's actually. I'm thinking as an Angry Turtle, you would pick up the pace.
You would. You'd be motivated, wouldn't you? But
Absolutely.
we're digressing. This is what happens when you get endurance racing. You know, we do digress a little bit during these broadcasts and give you something interesting to listen to, of course. Because one of the things is a factor of endurance racing is the racing spreads out a bit more. The actual racing on track is a little bit more sedate. It's about putting the times in. It's about running the old pit cycles. So we like to give you something entertaining to listen to and to think, my God, what are these people on? I can tell you nothing but caffeine and hopes and dreams and love for the PCA. But Lone Wolf Motorsports gap now 4.6 seconds. That is massive for those guys. Gapping Matrix Blue now by at least a second last lap by. The gap back to Redwood Racing is 2. That's come down, actually, Taylor. Redwood are catching Matrix Blue now. They're only 2 seconds back.
They certainly are, and now make it 1.4 seconds and closing right now. Dave Schwartz is currently driving that 106, trying to catch up to Cameron Martineau. Keep an eye on this battle right here as they work their way through the bus stop chicane and now making the run over to La Source for the first turn. Both of them running very even lap times. Dave ran a 2:14.21 compared to Cameron Martineau's 2:14.59, so Dave Schwartz could definitely find a way to use the shores and try to get around Cameron Martineau.
Yeah, that's something he's going to have to try and do here and make way for. But looking at our clock, we are at the 1 hour mark. It is here. Third of the way is in the bag. So we're looking at pit cycles very soon, I think, guys. We're talking about just over 30 minutes. So we should see some cars starting to think about pit road and where they'll do their driver swap. Because that's going to have to happen at some point. Now or later.
At the very least, I expect some drivers to try and split it at 45 minute or so to try and keep things equalized right even. You may see a couple drivers, though, I think, try and push as far as they can on the stint to be able to make sure they're good to go. But I believe one driver may have had some trouble. We was robbed, I believe, is around. Yes, indeed, in a very bad spot.
That is not good for those guys. Problematic for the leaders in that class. And that is, of course, terrible place to have it happen. Lecombe, coming out of Lecombe, they just ran off the track there. A little bit of contact and round they go. Caught a second time. Not ideal.
So it's safe to say that they was robbed of multiple positions?
You could, in fact, say that, yes. It's an easy low bar on that one.
It is a very... just a layup. You got to put a layup.
It worked. We'll go with it. But, yes, so far, things are looking pretty good. Things are pretty stable in the run at the moment. We was robbed are trying to get in position back here, trying to get some time. They're making it past a couple of these guys already. So I think, never mind the Angry Turtle, Robert Rattray is pretty angry behind the wheel of that machine now. He's trying to build up some time again and get himself back to where he was. as the gap now for Lone Wolf Motorsport, as we come across this time by. Their last lap was a 1:13.9. That is their fastest lap yet, as far as I'm aware. Cameron Martineau, a 1:14.3. So close this time by. It's 5.5 seconds. Let's go take a look at Lone Wolf's lap times. Yes, that was Polarsek's fastest. What?
Nope.
No, it wasn't. No, that's his practice times. I'm an idiot. His third lap was actually his fastest, a 2:13.8. But considering he's been up in the 13s and 14s and 15s since, you think with tire deg he'd be going slower. But no, his last two laps were both under the 1:14 mark, a 1:13.93 and a 1:13.989. So Polarsek's driving faster now. I think maybe he's putting some hot laps in before he comes in.
I think so, just trying to build as much of a buffer as he can on the stopwatch. Keep in mind, you mentioned those times, the clean fast lap for Polasek, 2-minute 13.807. He's been able to record as quick as 2:13.2s with the potential of off track. So he's pushing the envelope right now to build this buffer compared to some of the others who have kept the fall off fairly even. And we've talked about it a bit with the weather, with it starting to actually get a bit cooler in terms of track temperature too. This is faring out to where it's a pretty good temperature where it's not too hot, not too cold when it comes to the grip.
Yeah, it's the Goldilocks zone actually of a racing phase where we're seeing these guys be in that right position to be able to do something with this. And wow, he's definitely putting the times in for us on the track to make this one really go. As looking through our listings, it's Schlangenstein Dream Team still leading the way in Class B, or Group B I should say. I keep calling them Class like it's a rally car, but no, Group B, that's no better, that's the same thing.
Same thing.
Schlangenstein Dream Team in 7th overall, but leading Group B. In Group C, still the Hammered Unicorns, and still my favorite team name in the entire event.
It's hilarious indeed, but it's kind of funny. With Group B, Porsche had a nice Group B rally car back in the 80s, and then of course when it comes to Group C, who can forget Porsche with their 962s, 956s back in the 80s. So it's very touching as well to have Porsches in these selected structured names for their respective groups.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Exactly how it would be for these guys, and putting in some good laps overall through the field. We was robbed to drop down, but I believe they're still going to be fighting for this one. They're running 3rd overall at the moment in your field for Group B. No, Group B. Schlangenstein Dream Team, then I believe it was going to be Equipped Vitas, and then we was robbed. Group C, of course, is Hammered Unicorns, Matrix Purple, and Angry Turtle, who are currently running the highest of the turtles, which is an important factor here. Although I believe Turtle Racing is in a different category overall. I believe they're Group B, correct?
I believe so. We'll have to take a look and double check right now. You're currently on board with the Group C driver of Oregon Girl Lap in the TGR Racing Porsche, running in 18th position. He is currently ahead of Jason Brodigan in the Turtle Racing Porsche. Right behind him, we can maybe see if we can get the correct class number to make sure that they are in the same class as they work down the Kemmel Straight. A good opportunity to see some of the speeds that they will be able to carry down this section of the course. Of course, you're building speed when you come out of La Source, having to breathe on the throttle just a little bit as you go through El Rouge and the Radillon. But once you hit that Kemmel Straight, it is just flat out all the way till you get to Les Combes and Malmedy.
Very much so. Lacombe and Malmedy being a tricky setup for these guys, but it's one where they really have to get right to really set themselves down towards Bruxelles, which gives them that whole second sector of the lap in a good flow, because Spa is one of these tracks where, Justin, you need to get one corner right to set the next 3 typically up for you, which leads to a straight. So to get that straight right, you've got to get that first corner right.
Exactly, that's what I was referring to a bit earlier on, because especially in Sector 2, it's the perfect example of that, where you have that run-up through that portion of the racetrack coming out of Les Combes. You go through Rivage, go on through No Name. In that section in particular, can lose you time. Pujon, then you carry the speed, Then you have to go through 12, 13, 14, 15 properly and consistently to carry speed to Blanchimont. You have the bus stop, carry speed to La Source. You have the speed from the source, carried up the hillside through Rouge and Rédillon to get to the Kemmel Strait. It's all a balancing act where you're challenged in your ability to slow the car down and rotate the car properly without making any major mistakes, but then also carry as much speed on the exit as you can to be able to have a lot of momentum and speed to be able to utilize draft or whatnot for later on.
Yeah, that's very much it. And the draft is massive. We discussed this already here at Spa. The draft is everything. Looking at Equipment Test's Rodney Campbell right now running second in Group B in tonight's events. A big one for those guys. They're putting in a great performance, of course. Looking at what they're doing in your overall points, Equipment Test currently running 6th in the points, which is Jared Rodenhaver and Lynn Wilson. But tonight, it's definitely making things a little different for them, actually, because Rodney Campbell is not actually on that list from the previous event, but is definitely doing them a good job of resting as the finishing position at Le Mans. I do apologize, I'm wrong there. They are 3rd in the points, and I believe Rodney Campbell's new to that team, so we've not really got a previous experience of how well he's running, but considering they're in 2nd, Justin, I think that's a pretty good example.
I think it's a pretty good example as well when it comes to the talent level, absolutely. It's going to be important, though, as an organization to weigh things out and get the speed together if you want to be able to contend in regards to an organization. When it comes to this battle we're seeing on screen, by the way, I have the suspicion that the saving of fuel may be coming into play because there's a few opportunities already where the TDRA racing machine could have made a move, maybe gotten a bit of a run to get a bit closer, but instead there's the chance to save that extra bit of fuel to try and save that extra bit of time in the pit stop window.
And that'll be important for these guys to make sure they do, of course, is getting themselves in a really positive position when it comes to that. So something to really pay attention to, something to really focus on. And okay, so look at the good gap here with Redwood and Matrix. That's not changed till 2 seconds. And the gap with Matrix to Lone Wolf has not changed either. So Lone Wolf have settled back into a groove here. Matrix, though, have picked it up a bit. They're dropping the times down here, Taylor. And so we're still seeing that kind of maintaining the top 3 within 7 seconds. It's still wide. It's still difficult, but it could change in a pit cycle.
It certainly can, Rachel. I mean, Cameron Martineau just set his fastest lap of the race last time by with a 2:14.16.6. But for Michael Polasek, he set the fastest lap of the race, the last lap, not this past one that they are currently working on, but he ran a 2:13.738. Phenomenal speeds coming out of that 747 Porsche as we watch on indeed and keep an eye on Rodney Campbell, who is trying to see if he can work his way up to the Sconeslands Dream Team up in 7th place to see if he can have a shot of taking on that Group B class lead. So we'll have to keep an eye and see what will happen as they work their way towards the back half of the course.
Yeah, they certainly are, and this back section is probably one of the most fun sections here at Spa. The first section is fast, but it's the second sector I think is really the fast part and the fun part of the racetrack. If you're looking at how this place lays out, of course, you're running from La Source up towards Les Combes. It's very fast, it's very busy, but the most fun part to drive is through Les Combes, Malmedy, Bruxelles, down towards Double Gauche and through Les Fanges, before you hit Campus and Stavelot, where you get that 3rd sector, again, a fast one. So you have this really technical 2nd sector where maintaining that speed is super important.
And if you don't maintain that speed, it ends up being where it costs you a lot of time. So, as emphasized, that's a very important section indeed for the technical portion, in my opinion, as well. But keep in mind, some of these drivers really abusing their brakes at this point, really locking things up in some of these battles, including that battle for 10th overall on track.
Yeah, 10th position really becoming heated up now. It's Hamid Unicorns there with, I believe, Equipment Test running right behind them here. So we actually are seeing a race now for the Group C lead at the moment, which is huge for these guys. Hamid Unicorns there holding on at the moment. No Equipment Tests are actually in the Group B. So once again, I'm being a little special with that one. I believe the second place for them is going to be 20. No, I'm wrong in that regard, but we're going to see Equipment Test making that move here on Unicorns. It is a fight for position, but not for the points in the championship, though. But the Unicorns have been pretty good pace here. They're still running 10th. They've been down to 11th at this point. Although I think it might be different as Gen Pop Racing is looking to make a move as well. They get through too. No real contest. They let them through there. No real challenge because, again, this isn't necessarily about the overall win. Yes, it's important, Justin, but it's very much about what these guys do when it comes to their overall individual group points.
Absolutely, and I think that's what the mindset is for this lap, though. Hammered Unicorn seems to be really struggling all of a sudden there, from letting by the one driver to then having a Group C driver in Gen Pop Racing drive on by. So that is indeed, I believe, for or a group position, I should rather say, coming into play right there amongst those competitors.
Very much the case, as we're seeing pits now. That's Dave Schwartz in P4 from Redwood Racing, hitting pit road here for his pit stop. I believe he's one of the first in Group A to come down pit road here. So early stop for Redwood. We're going to see if they do a driver swap here, but they're coming onto pit road for that service. Lee Peterson coming up behind them as well. That's the Matrix Imperial Shake. They're coming past, actually. That's Chris Pies. Sorry, Matrix Bake going through as well, not stopping. But Redwood are on pit road, and they are doing their swap. Jason Listener now behind the wheel of that car. So that will be a position change for those guys.
It's a great opportunity to do this right now because this is at the halfway point we are approaching. So these cars can go a full hour on a set of tank of fuel, but due to the fact of some changes, it's probably best to go ahead and break it up into two different sections. So we will now start to see the field inside the top 10 at least, to keep an eye on, making their way down pit road here within the next couple of laps or so. So we are now in that pit window to where drivers can make it.
Yeah, it's all going to be very critical as a result for the mileage. Several drivers coming down the lane, but take a look at this. Gen Pop Racing ended up letting back Hammered Unicorns on by after they got a massive run, able to pick up a lot of draft down the Kemal Straight. So this is starting to heat up a little bit amongst these competitors, all while ARPCA Daves watches with the Daves having a chance to join all the fun as well here.
Yeah, I think that could be something they have to consider with how they're putting this out. But the strategy in the race will always be the biggest component, especially with this being an endurance event. So they have to factor that sort of thing in. But we are coming down now on our midway point in tonight's race, and you all know what that means. It's PCA history. It is coming up on time for our midway race report, and so we bring you our Haggerty race break, brought to you by Haggerty. Since 1984, Haggerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles they revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Haggerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Haggerty, the shop, and much, much more to fuel car culture. Haggerty, let's drive together. That in mind, let's take a look through our field. Leading the way is Michael Polasek and Lone Wolf Motorsports in that 747 machine. Had a fantastic run tonight. They've got 7 seconds on Matrix Blue right now. A humongous lead. And that is, in fact, second place, Matrix Blue. Both these cars started where they're currently running. Driven by Cameron Martineau at the moment. It's the 41 car there, putting in a great showing in tonight's event. 3 seconds adrift to them is the 8 machine of TDRA Racing, piloted by Raphael Amram at the moment. Again, started in third, running in third. P4 is the 77 of Imperial Motorsports Shake, piloted by Chris Pies. They started in fourth, and they are running in fourth. Fifth place is James Huth, piloting the Huth Brothers Racing machine, the 12 car. They started 9th, they're running 5th, so they've been the big gain so far in that top 5 and doing a good job with it. And it's our Group B leaders. It's Jordan Dyer piloting the Schlansan Dream Team machine. The 966 car is up 1 from 7th where they started. P7 is Q-Cup Racing piloted by Jason Stanley in the 944. They started 11th and they're up to 7th place. The second Imperial Motorsports car, the Bake Machine, piloted by Leif Peterson, is down 2 from where they started, but still overall running in a net position for the class. After that is 9th place, Hammered Unicorns. They are currently up 4 spots from 13th, piloted right now by Tamer Elbaga in the 208. That is Equipped for Test, piloted by Rodney Campbell there, the 982 machine. They're up 3 from where they started in 12th. P11 is Gem Pop Racing, piloted by Jeff P. Smith in the 986 car. Gem Pop Racing up 6 from 17th.
Currently in the 12th position, you'll find Dave Craig in the ARPCA Daves as they work their way through. They're having a little bit of a battle going on right now as they slip back to 13th, so we'll go 1 car up to the car in front of them, which is none other, as they swap positions once again, to Robert Rattray in the We Was Robbed Racing. They got contact a little earlier on early in the race, but is able to climb their way back up into the top 10, so a great drive for them. If we go back to the 14th position, we'll find the Hoser Racing of Joe St. Clair as he is working his way over towards La Source. Very quiet night with him running inside the top 15. If we go back to the 14th spot, we talked about him a lot during the beginning of the race. Redwood Racing, Jason Lisner now behind the wheel of the 108 Porsche, trying to see if they can get back up towards the top 3 later on in the race. 15th position, you will find the ZG4 Ohio, Jake Steinbrink behind the wheel of that car, having a great night so far, and it ran their best lap a few laps ago with a 2:16.178. One of the many Matrix Motorsports Greens car, they got involved in an incident earlier on. That's Matthew Siddle in the 04. They were up towards the top 5, leading their group, but now have to find a way to fight their way back up to the top from 16th. 17th of the Equipment Hez of Jared Roadheaver. He is now back out on the track as they work their way in doing a driver swap. 2 bad drivers in 18th. Gabriel Albano behind the wheel of that orange Porsche as they come out of La Source, making the climb up through the top of El Rouge and Radillon. Quiet night for them. We'll see if they're able to make their way through. In the 19th position, the Jixter Racing, Christian Rava behind the wheel. We know that's a popular team in PCA competition. We've seen them always running that light blue, Robin's egg blue, I would have to say, Porsche down the Kemmel Straight, seeing if they can work their way up a little further up the field. 20th position is Matrix Red's Glenn Dennis, one of the new drivers to Matrix Motorsports, having a great debut, seeing if he can gain a couple of more spots from that 20th position. 21st position is Team GP Sim Sport with Chris Siborowski behind the wheel. Quiet night for them as they're the last car on the lead lap.
That brings us to TGR Racing's Robert Rose, who is in the 22nd position, currently 1 lap down, has already completed service a few laps ago on pit stops. Then you have Turtle Racing, who is in the midst of a position battle with Canyon Carvers at the moment. Robert Walton trying to hold on in front of this train, with Rick Reinsberg, the car chasing behind, 23rd, 24th overall on the pylon. Matrix Purple is in 25th position with Stephen Kemp in that car. Then Angry Turtle Racing in the 777 with Dean Chapman is in 26th overall on track. Then you have 27th, who's Muchachos Motorsports with David Purdy in that position, followed by Matrix Black with Aaron Ambrosino, who is in that position right now, -2 from the starting spot. 29th position is Measure Racing, who is also -2 with John Martin. Rounding out the top 30 is WWZ Red with Chip Witt behind the wheel of that machine. The rest of the drivers are IMS Racing, right now running 31st, up 2 positions from their qualifying spot. And the last car running on track is Pegasus Racing, who has been involved in some incidents earlier on. They are off cycle. They are 32nd. House Cat Racing is currently out of the race, 11 laps down.
Well, there we go. That is, of course, our midway race report brought to us by Haggerty. And it has been an interesting race so far, guys. I think we can agree, Taylor, Justin, that this has been unfolding in quite an interesting way. We've seen different drivers really succeed here. We expected Lone Wolf to do well, and they're doing just that. But overall, the racing has been incredibly fair. It's been incredibly clean. Probably the cleanest event we've seen.
I have to agree with you. There hasn't been too many over-daring moves. There's been a couple mistakes here and there, but usually when it comes to even a 90-minute race such as this, you'll see some drivers get involved in some trouble, and it ends up becoming attrition early on in the first 10-15 minutes usually of a race that is an endurance format. But today, barely any incidents, barely any bits of contact, just everyone keeping a nice and smooth race. It's just been, for the most part, very minimal mistakes overall from these competitors, Taylor.
Certainly not, and it's very impressive to see how clean the competitors have been since the drop the green flag. We've had a couple of small incidents here or there, but for the most part, everyone's showing respect to their competition, racing hard, but racing respectfully, as we've known that's how the PCA is, where drivers race hard, race clean, and have a fun time each and every single time they're out on the track.
Very much the case, of course, as we're starting to see some lapping happening. Lone Wolf started to catch up on some back markers here on the racetrack, which is going to be a big thing for those guys, but traffic's going to make things harder. Can they keep this 8.9 seconds, Justin? Probably, but it's going to be harder.
If anything, it allows them some opportunities to save, since they've been broken away from the draft for a while, and they could utilize some of the draft from these lap cars to be able to pull some extra time. They actually pulled an extra couple tenths down Blanchimont, for example, just from running behind the Team GP Sim Sport machine that's right behind them right now, for just a couple straightaways. So they can utilize that to save some fuel, stretch on forward a little bit. It's just making sure you are predictable as traffic to get yourself around those respective competitors, because you don't want to end up being unpredictable when it comes to being traffic and end up causing problems for a position battle or impeding a leader.
No, it's certainly not what you want to see happen, and you have to be very careful with that, because it can happen so easily and unintentionally. But it's harder at Spa, I'd say, than some tracks. There is so much room, and you've got so much space to be able to do that sort of thing.
Take a little look up further the field right now. We have a battle for the 5th position overall. This is the Q Cup Racing of Jason Stanley versus Leif Peterson in the Imperial Motorsports Bake team. They're heading down the Kemmel Straight right now. Leif Peterson trying to get back into the top 5 to see if he can catch up to his teammate for a podium finish here, at least, as they work their way up through Lecombe and Malmedy. Setting up through there. Good bit of run right there as they come out of Malmedy, heading down towards the hairpin here. As we watch on and see, can't quite make the pass as they come out of there, heading towards No Name. But a great drive, though, for the Q Cup Racing after the pit cycles. They have yet to pit yet, actually, as currently the top 9 have yet to pit since we started the pit cycles. And you have a couple of other drivers mixed throughout the field, such as the ZG4 Ohio and I believe the Poser Racing of Joe Sinclair as well have yet to pit. But as far as everyone else on the field, they have at least pitted one time.
Yeah, very much are, and I think most people have been through that pit cycle by this point here. So, of course, Q Cup P2 in Group B, that's one to consider, of course, for us, as look at P8 right there currently. We was Robbed Racing. They're still getting themselves back up. In fact, they've gained places from after their earlier incident. Tamarabaga driving an absolute storm here. In fact, I think he's coming up behind the Hammered Unicorns at the moment, or he's just got passed by them, so it's an interesting battle here between two classes.
Well, Tamar Albaga is in the Hammered Unicorn car, Rachel.
I got confused. Robert Rattray, of course. We was Rob. I should have known.
Oh, and we got one car coming down pit road. That's Q Cup Racing of Jason Stanley. He's the first one to blink out of the top 5 this time around, as he will hit the brakes, head on down pit road, put the pit limiter on, and continue on his way.
Hopefully should get that done nice and easy for both of those to hit pit road now. So we're seeing We Was Robbed and Hammered Unicorns both coming in. 2 class leaders, class B and C. Actually, no, they're not. Actually, they're overall points leaders, I think, in both classes.
Yes, indeed. Sconesland's Dream Team is currently the Group B leader, and the Hammered Unicorn is the current Group C class leader.
Yeah, sorry. The Unicorns, however, are 10th in points. No, that's Le Mans. There's so many charts to keep track of here. It's so difficult. The Unicorns are in 6th place, actually, in Group C. Oh, that's Le Mans statistics again. Eventually, I'll find the right ones, actually. Oh, these are after Le Mans, so yes. We was Rob leading Group B, and we have Gem Pop leading Group C, of course, with the Unicorns currently scoring 6th. But this will be big points gains for them, of course, as leaders in Group C right now. That'll really help them, especially over the likes of Point Break Esports and TGR Racing, so that could be a big advantage there. Obviously, Matrix Green have had some troubles today as well. But yeah, this should be a definite advantage to them. Whilst it won't bring up to Gem Pop, they have a good points advantage so far. It can definitely have a good impact on what they can do. They're a whole 10 points adrift right now, Gem Pop.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is going to be where everything cycles, Rachel, because some of the drivers are separated in terms of their stints by as much as 6 laps right now. And some drivers have actually lost time throughout this entire stint so far from the respective side of things. So it's going to be intriguing how it all plays out. For Gem Pop, by the way, they cycled way behind Hammer Unicorns, but right into the midst of a bit of some battling behind with David Palmer, as well as that 982 machine joining the fray as well.
Yeah, super exciting, and it's going to be really cool to see what does actually play out with how this takes place. They've been putting in some serious lap times right now, and I'm excited to see what they'll do by the end of this race. As we talk about gaps, oh my god, the front, look at pit road right now. We'll go to Lone Wolf Motorsports actually, because it is a parking lot. There's like 7-8 cars on pit road right now, so very congested space there. As driver swaps there for them. Leon Van Handel in for Lone Wolf. We'll see how his speed makes up. Matrix Blue are in. Imperial Motorsports Shaker in. And Schlonsan Dream Team are in. Imperial Motorsports Baker in. Everyone's in the top 5 all on pit road here.
This will be the end of the fuel tanks for these respective competitors, so this is to be expected, keep in mind. So it's going to be just a matter of trying to get off and away quickly. About 32 second pit stop times for majority of the drivers. Matrix Blue, interestingly enough, though, and this may have cost them some potential spots here. How about a 48-second pit stop?
Yeah, that's definitely a different one. I'm not sure I've seen them that sort of time size before.
I'm wondering maybe if they possibly considered taking tires during that pit stop.
Yes.
That is the slowest pit stop of the race, and looking at it, I think it might be safe to say that that's what they did. I only see maybe 2 cars inside the top 20 who took tires.
Yeah, that could most likely be it. I think tires is not necessarily the call here. Typically not always see in a 90-minute race. We'll typically see people double stinting tires, so likely that is the case.
Yeah, and that is huge, where now it puts them on the back foot where they have to try and drive at least a few seconds up the road to get back up to where Imperial Motorsports is, where TDRA Racing is, to have a shot at trying to get back towards the podium. So it's going to be very difficult. Wow, this gives Lone Wolf Motorsports a big lead because they executed the pit exit in their outlap perfectly.
Yeah, it really does, and that's what you need to get done. The outlap and the inlap are the most important parts of your pit stop. Yeah, being the pit road time is important, getting the timer right, but with cars with pit limiters, it's much less about maintaining and gaming the limiters in pit road. With this sort of situation, is your in and out laps that are everything. You've got to get the best you can out of both of them. And a good out lap on cold tires is trickier than it sounds.
Certainly is, Rachel. But one thing to keep in mind when it comes to Leon van Handel, a couple of rounds ago at Sebring, we had this same scenario. Michael Polacek had a dominant stint for his run, gave the car over to Leon van Handel, and then had a major mistake that cost them the victory at Sebring. So right now, Michael Polacek's hoping that Leon is going to take his time. He has a 17-second gap. Just take care of the car, bring it home to checkered flag in less than 30 minutes, and it'll all be good to increase their points lead in this series.
Most certainly. And we've got a battle for fourth right now. That's going to be involving Redwood and Matrix Blue. In the moment, we'll see Bill Anderson make that pass at the inside here on the Kemmel Straight in towards the next corner here. Gets it done well. Lecoume into Malmeny secures that spot. So Matrix Blue move them up to fourth place here. Move Redwood back down to fifth. Going to seventh place here though. We've got Imperial Motors Bake and we have Q Cup Racing right behind them. Justin?
And this is not what Q-Kip, I think, necessarily wants is someone to be very busily trying to make some dives underneath right now, like Imperial Motorsports Bank right now. Just try and get your marks. It's got to be the main focus if you want to be able to get up to Redwood Racing at this point. It's going to take a lot of speed to get up there, keep in mind at this point. So we'll have to see how this plays out as Q-Cup Racing utilizing a lot of the runoff area at that time.
Yeah, they really did, and you see a lot of guys not having clean races here. Not because they're not good drivers, but because they're just using a little bit of extra runoff, which will count here at Spa. It's incredibly judicious with how it applies off-track penalties here. If you slightly go off, you will catch one, whereas some tracks you can use a lot of runoff and you're fine. Spa, a little bit too much, boom, you're done. That's every section of the racetrack. It's a vicious place for it. I mean, I recall seeing some of the official 24s here. I think, Taylor, people had racked up 100 points. It was insane. Just for
well, if you remember the infamous race where we saw Max Verstappen and Lando Norris having major issues with those off tracks as well as those 1Xs and multiple incident points throughout that 24-hour race. That was a sight for sore eyes to watch. Of course, iRacing did go in to fix it to where the track limits are not too crazy, but within reason as we now watch this battle here as they come out of Blanchimont heading towards the bus stop chicane. This is Gabriel Albano in the two bad drivers versus Daniel Rubel in the Hamburg Unicorns for the 13th position as they dive it into the bus stop. Big send right there. Contact around 3 wide. And now back to 2 wide as they try to get themselves sorted out. And I have to say the 131 car of Gabriel Albano, the biggest loser out of that. So he was not the bad driver this time around, I would have to say.
Players coming up for you here on the screen, and you see this now, the three of them coming in towards the bus stop out of Blanchimont. And it is one place you don't want to go 3 wide. It is the bus stop chicane at Spa. It's up the inside. Whoa, mega dive. That was, that was full send.
Yeah.
Hashtag send it.
That was very optimistic. Probably the most optimistic move of the day, to say the very least, because I think in part they missed the braking zone with how deep they sent it, with how far back as well Hamburg Unicorns was backing up the corner as well to make the corner. But then the secondary contact, they were lucky to not send themselves off towards the tire barrier there to escalate that entire situation. Now, both of them have to deal with damage the rest of the way.
Yeah, definitely. And you've got to be super, super careful with this sort of thing. You can't be making moves like that at this juncture of the race. Yeah, we have 24 minutes remaining. Wow, time's flown, hasn't it, folks? It feels like only a minute ago we were at an hour remaining. But now we're in our final 30. I'd say it's a bit too soon still. I'd still maintain it is too soon for those sort of moves. Those are the last 2 laps. TDRA Racing there, but Trey Drawhorn behind the wheel of their car. And they're currently clocked overall as second place, which is huge for them, ahead of Imperial Motorsport Shake by a decent margin here. So TDRA Racing haven't pitted yet, as far as I know. Well, they pitted early, which I believe is the case in this instance, because Raphael was in the car, Trey Drawhorn is in the car now. We'll see where they cycle out with their pits here. I think this could be interesting.
Remember, they actually did pit at the 43 minutes mark, TDRA Racing, so they did have that service very early. They're one of the biggest undercuts of the field. Redwood Racing also has 10 laps on the respective stint, for example. So they're essentially trying to push on with as least amount of tire wear for their secondary driver, or second driver, I should rather say, as they can. So we'll have to see how these drivers continue on compared to some of the others who are only a few laps into the car and are trying to close up that gap right now in those respective groups, such as this respective group here that's making contact.
Yeah, that's a troublesome opportunity here. We're starting to see a lot of people making some mistakes here. Gen Pop Racing's Kevin Douglas apparently involved in some prison yard shanking right now, as this is a bit of a scrap we're seeing down the road here.
Interesting choice of metaphor, but it's still an interesting choice to have that near side-by-side that was with lap traffic, keep in mind. So they are getting fairly fierce here and a little bit congested when it comes to the timing here. It looks like, at the very least, Jared wants to get the run. The problem is he's over pushing the corners and costing him time with how he's pushing.
Yeah, he really is, and not the situation you want to be in with regards to that. There's track getting very congested. People gaining this time now. We've had people pitting around each other, so we're starting to see a lot of drivers really kind of put a good fight on things. By the way, Matrix, we're looking at here on the start-finish line. Blue getting past green. I think that's for a lapped position. Yes, it is. Things really hotting up at the moment with the track, as we see there side by side. With that, was that we was robbed? No, it wasn't. I thought it was, but making those changes to what they were up to at the moment. Racing clear on the track. We've got some good running here. The gap for Lone Wolf. How has Leon Van Handel been doing compared to Polasek? The gap's 15 seconds now. It's fantastic, as we're looking at 11th place here. It's Gen Pop Racing and Equip Vitesse. Equip Vitesse getting through there, making it work for them. Exactly what they needed to have happen here, but Equip Vitesse have been putting on a good show. They're up one position still overall, but we was robbed doing a great job in terms of what they're putting into the car here. Redwood currently out ahead overall right now from our grouping. Redwood have had a fantastic day. Honestly, they've been putting in some great performance here, Justin. That car's been really fast.
Yeah, they've been consistently heading in the same ballpark throughout this entire run, been keeping it on their times in about the 2:14, 2:15 second range. So, for the most part, Jason Lisner has done his job, and that is bring this car around in a consistent mark with the undercut strategy and try and push on forward with the heavier fuel compared to some of the errors from earlier on. And he's been able to do exactly what he's needed to do to get his team in position. Compare that to some of the air battles going on where you're trying to stop the bleeding if you're, say, Hammered Unicorns, and don't build things up in your mind to where you don't want incidents to kind of snowball, where you make one mistake at one moment, it snowballs into an error mistake. It snowballs into an error. You lose an error position. Snowballs into an error loss position. You don't want it to go that route if you're Daniel right now, too.
I think that's just a factor of racing at Spa. Things spiral here. This is a track where that sort of thing does exist. So you've got to be very careful about how you get when the car gets upset or when you don't quite get a corner right. It can be a major problem, and you've got to take into account those situations, and you've got to manage to balance that out because you've got to recover quickly. As Matrix Blue, the Landison there, up the inside, makes the pass and secures it here. That's Imperial Motorsport Shake. Matthew Quickest gets it through there, so holding that position back again. Matrix Blue were scored leading. They got past, they passed it back.
Yeah, strong drive right there indeed for those two drivers. Matthew Keekins, of course, is a longtime PCA competition driver. Been in here since pretty much the inception of it, as you're on board with him right now from the Carolinas region with the Imperial Motorsports. So has a couple of champions to lean on to learn more about and try to get some better times as he's looking to see if he can improve upon his position, try to stay in the podium. But Bill Anderson in that Matrix Blue car is definitely one to watch.
Totally is. We're looking at 12th place at the moment. That's the ARPCA Daves there, along with two bad drivers. And two bad drivers, well, they're driving just fast enough at the moment. They're not doing that badly. Making a move on the inside there into Lacombe. Hold it and secure it by Malmedy. So great position change for those guys, getting that one done. Time on the clock, we're looking at 17 minutes here, Justin, so this is where things are starting to get spicy now.
Yes, indeed, and you're going to start to see some of the tempo start to pick up. Keep in mind, it's going to get interesting for some of these drivers when it comes to the incident points too, because that car in front right now in the 982, for example, in this grouping, had to come down the pit lane for a drive-through. So it's getting to that mark where drivers, if they are overexerting the track limits or put more than half their car across some of these areas. This area, for example, a major spot drivers have been utilizing. You're going to have to be careful. Otherwise, you're going to lose positions.
You certainly are, and of course, that's one thing people need to consider is we're not just running on iRacing's system here for how things are adjudicated. The PCA committee and race control do very heavily moderate this stuff, so if you fall foul of their driving regulations, you will go down pit road, and they will do it to you without feeling very bad at all. Keeps the racing honest, keeps the racing fair. We don't see people abusing track limits. It is done exactly the way it needs to be done to keep fair, good, clean racing competition. We don't really see track limit abuse actually in PCA. Everything's in the spirit of the racing, and you can run wide by a mistake, but it can gain you time, so you will be penalized for that.
Still have to be careful in terms of the incident count in regards to that, though. You'd have to think, because if you overexert that here at Spa in particular, it's so easy to do, as we talked about earlier on, to pick those up. And the interesting thing is, in Sim, this is a newer feature of recent times. Drivers have the option now to view exactly where those spots are. Take, for example, the run out through turn 1. The entire runoff area, anything past the curbs from this corner exit onward, is considered an off-track section. Anywhere that's outside the rumble strips or the white lines, up through El Rouge and up the hillside, you cannot cross. So all of those drivers have the ability to see exactly, okay, I have to be careful in this section, and that section, to make sure that they abide by those rules and make sure they don't go into where they have an in-sim penalty.
Yeah, and Spa is very judicious about how it applies this. As you can probably tell, literally the curbing marks your limit you can use. It's that specific. You put more than a wheel over that curbing and boom, you're in trouble town. Population U. And you've got to be very, very aware of that, because it will put you in a bad situation. And as it stands, looking at these times a moment, we're seeing 15 seconds there for Lone Wolf. Behind them is 4 seconds behind TDRA to Matrix Blue. TDRA have done a great strategy call with this thing. They've really put that car in a good position, and it's showing now. Looking at 19th actually right now, that's Jose Racing, and I believe we've got the no, that's Jose Racing and ZG for Ohio, I think it is. So we've got TGR Racing, no, TGR Racing and Jose Racing. Sorry, that was position out of line there for us. But No, there are 3 cars. Okay, I thought I was doing something weird, but no, it's just my eyes. TGR Racing, we've got ZG for Ohio there, piloted at the moment by Bruce Robinson. TGR's Robert Rose and Jose Racing's Adam Holland. You think the Canadian, Justin? Who's the racing?
I'm not sure where the reference is coming towards, but
yeah, it's a Canadian thing. Never mind.
I've never actually heard that before. Keep in mind that both the drivers.
We got a bit of a going round there. Believe that was TGR went very wide going through the bus stop, and they overran. They lost position to both those cars there, so we'll cycle them to the back of that group.
Yeah, let's take a look.
For you here.
Yes, indeed, and we've seen a couple drivers go a little bit too deep on the brakes, especially when they see the opportunity. This was mightily deep, and this time, good heads up by the car on the outside to make sure that they gave some space to make sure there was no contact before. That does cost Robert Rose a little bit of time, but now puts them right behind the Upper Canada-based drivers.
Yeah, that will definitely be giving them a good positioning with that one. As we're still seeing the battle reforming here, TGR coming back towards Jose in front of them. ZG4 Ohio have checked out a little bit in this group, so they're moving forwards in 19th. So this is a battle for 20th. Jose and TGR Racing working back and forth here, trying to see what they can do. No name corner down towards the double gauche at the bottom of the hill here. I want to see if TGR can really take advantage in this situation, Taylor, and gain some time, because they need to get back past this car.
They certainly do, Rachel, and with time almost running out, we're approaching 10 minutes left to go in the race. It is of essence for them to try to see if they can get around them as quickly as possible to gain those needed positions and times on the rest of their competitors right now, as we keep an eye on this battle here as they come out of that small section. Jose Racing and Adam Holland behind the wheel right now in that 20th position. You're on board now with Robert Rose, who's a big, well-known name in the PCA competition, especially for the past couple of series, as he has some strong performances, as he will now duck to the inside, try to compete the pass before they get out of Blanchimont, and not quite yet. He will complete it now as they make the run down towards the bus stop chicane and pull about a 3-car length advantage as they enter the braking zone. A great drive by Robert Rose as we see Holland overshoot it. That's going to be a time penalty as Robert Rose will...
I was just going to say, sorry, it's a mirror image of what exactly happened to TGR last time by, so they did exactly the same thing in reverse this time.
Yes, indeed they did. That'll move Stephen Kemp up as well to the 21st spot in the Matrix Motorsports Purple.
Also, I believe you only get bonked for time if you actually gained. They lost time there, so they should be okay in that regard, but as it stands, they are now well out of position behind TGR Racing, who has a couple of seconds on them on the racetrack. That'll be a big one for them. Racing has separated out in these last few moments. We've gone from some pretty close battles 10 minutes ago, Justin, now to a slightly further spread on the racetrack. All our gaps, especially towards the front here, we're looking at 15 seconds, then 2, then 3, 5, 8, 10. It just widens and widens and widens. Our closest ones we have there are the 3 seconds between Matrix Blue and Imperial Shake, and between Q Cup and Imperial Bake. So that's 3rd and 4th and 7th and 8th. But they're 2-second gaps. It's not exactly close. This one we had with Jose, TGR, and Ohio was our closest. Now, not even that spread out as we look ticking into the final 10 minutes here at Spa Francorchamps.
Another nice pass there by two bad drivers who are having a very nice day. As one of our biggest movers to the field, plus 10 so far on the day for two bad drivers. Plus 12 for the ZG4 Ohio machine as well. Keep in mind, GP Sim Sport has also picked up 7 positions as the day has gone on. In fact, making some moves around various traffic at the moment. The most spots lost as well as Matrix Green, minus 12 on the day. It's not been their type of day from some of the earlier troubles that Matrix Green's seen. They haven't been able to recover.
No, they haven't. And Matrix Green really, unfortunately, put out by that. It's not been their day, but they'll do what they can, as we had a car off in the bus stop again there. I think that was that ZG4?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was ZG4. So we see TGR moving up here to lead that trio once again, but they've closed in now. So we could see battling still happening with ZG4 Ohio, Zone Group 4 Ohio, and TGR Racing here. So we could still see something happening, Taylor.
We certainly can. As we keep on going through here, you're on board with Stephen Kemp, who's trying to see if he can gain a couple of more spots, trying to catch up to the ZG4 Ohio of Bruce Robinson. He gets a great run as they come down the Kemble Straight. He'll look to the outside and move him up into the top 20. A great pass right there for Stephen Kemp.
Yeah, Kemp does exactly what he has to do. Matrix Purple there in the top 20. Last cars on the lead lap actually in this moment right now, but doing what they need in this race. The Matrix teams overall have had a very, very good day out, Taylor, and with their new drivers, with their teams they've entered, this is a really strong competition for the Matrix family and all their drivers. So I'm excited to see what they can do overall as a grouping, and even some of the lower categories, we're seeing guys develop within that organization and go forwards.
Yeah, he certainly can. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do in the final two races at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta and at Suzuka. Looking forward to seeing how this team continues to progress as we get ready for the end of the Team Endurance Series, as well as when we come up ready for Series 7.
Nearly had a moment there, actually. We'll try and get a replay of what just took place. So we're looking at P15 there. That was the ARPCA Daves. And a quick Vitesse as they're coming into the bus stop. We see the Daves coming up behind them, and the Daves coming, not really braking, having to lock them up there and go wide. So nearly a collision in the bus stop. But the Daves put the anchors on, and they got out of the way in time. So that was a lucky escape there, I think, Justin.
Very, very lucky indeed. And I've been noticing more and more drivers have been locking up their brakes in that bus stop chicane. In these closing stages, that battle that was going on for 19th, we've seen it several times. Now we've seen that come into play for the Daves. And now I think at this point, that's something drivers have to keep in mind with the tire wear at this point, since the majority of the field is in the double stint. By the way, when it comes to Matrix Blue, it should be worth noting that they are picking up time now, still on second with those fresher tires. So they are within range just about of getting within the draft to make it a battle for second for the final couple laps. 0.8 faster last time by.
Yeah, that's a big advantage, I think, in terms of time. We should see that benefit them greatly here. 5 minutes left on the clock and 33 seconds. So it's not going to be long now before we decide this thing. Is the race lead decided? Could be, but there's lap traffic ahead here. Zone Group 4 Ohio, in fact, going to go a lap down in 21st. To Lone Wolf Motorsports, piloted by Leon Van.
As we continue to watch Leon Van Handel here working his way through No Name in the final 5 minutes to go, working his way down through the back half of the track as they continue to go on.
Yeah, they certainly do, and honestly, don't know if anyone heard what I said about Lone Wolf Motorsports there, but hopefully you guys hear me now. Is that about right?
We got you now, so we're good to go.
Well, I was saying that Van Handel and Polisek have both had rockets strapped to them, but overall, an incredibly strong race by those guys. I don't think it's possible to catch them unless they make a mistake here, so knock on wood. TDRA, though, are looking pretty set here for a second place if they can hold on now for another 4 minutes on this racetrack. So should we say 2 more laps after this? It's going to come down to the wire, though. Their stop was quite early, but it should work.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. It's just going to come down to the matter of basically how close Matrix Blue gets, obviously, for one, but two, the timing of the runs via the draft. Right now, it looks like they're a bit further behind than they need to be right now, but it might come down to just one chance, one little mistake. That's what they need to really have the true shot, as we're coming up to about a couple estimated laps to go.
Yeah, with what we're seeing here, 3:30 on the clock, I think we're looking at, with this being a completed lap here, 2 more. White flag next time. We're hearing white flag next time by. Clock will have struck 0 by the time we get back around. So yes, white flag will be the next run around for Lone Wolf Motorsports. Then reaching Lacombe now at the end of Kemmel. So it's going to be another once around the Kemmel Straight No Rouge Radio Complex for those guys after this lap completes. More lap traffic to pass. TDRA looking strong. Hold on for 2 laps. They've got this thing in the bag, which will be huge for those guys in the team racing. Oh, we had a moment there coming through Davilo, and it was Gem Pop Racing, and the car behind them, I think, was TGP Simsport, who went flying off the track there. Butchered that corner, took a huge wide exit, and that would have given them a slowdown or a penalty at least. I think a penalty in this case, but oh, that was super close. Matrix Blue there for you. They're close here to TDRA, but is it close enough, Taylor? Are they going to be able to get here to make a pass before this is over?
They're going to absolutely try to here as they're coming up on the final lap momentarily. Bill Anderson is setting faster lap times, though, compared to Trey Drawhorn, who ran about 0.3 faster last time by, as they're also having lap traffic in front of them. This could be the deciding factor for Bill Anderson to get in that second position.
Yeah, definitely is, and oh boy, this could be our battle for the end of this race. Matrix Blue and TDRA Racing could come down to the wire here. I believe we've got behind them Redwood, Huth Brothers, Q-Cup as well. Taking the white flag now, this time out of Blanchimont. It'll go through Blanchimont now, I should say. I was a little bit behind there, it seems, as we went under the line. So that was the white flag we just saw from Lone Wolf Motorsport. Through La Source for the first time. No, last time, not first time. I'm getting the race backwards here. Benjamin Button, but racing. Down the old pit straight now, up Eau Rouge and Radion. The big climb there. It's really, really close for P2. We've been talking about that all race long. We'll be focusing most of this last lap here. As you see now, traffic ahead of 2 and 3. It will be who manages this better for TDRA Racing. Trey Drawhorn and Bill Anderson going to duke it out for second step of the podium. It should be both of them on the step, but which step is up for the side here as big gains by Bill Anderson. Goes to the outside, but there'll be traffic, I think, ahead of him. He'll have to factor that in. Inside line, Trey Drawhorn, hold. Can he hold? He can't hold. No, through will come Matrix Blue, but it's not over yet. Not by a long stretch here at Spa, Justin.
And those fresher tires coming into play indeed to be able to go a little bit more further on the outside. A second faster last time by, keep in mind. So Anderson just needs to make sure that he gets through the traffic if it comes into play cleanly. And right now you can tell Trez Drawhorn currently really pushing hard to try and utilize as much space as possible to gain any chance through Blanchimont to have an air shot.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the last moments here as they'll come through out of La Fange towards campus now. This will be last opportunity territory here. Can we go for a Hail Mary pass? Can Trey Drawhorn pull this forwards and hold second place? The gap has widened. The new tires, I think, are enough for Matrix Blue to have the advantage here. Lone Wolf Motorsports coming through the final corner, the bus stop chicane for the last time. They will come out with a wiggle to the line and win here at Spa Francorchamps. Behind them though, bus stop chicane. Oh no! It happened! Oh gosh! Through comes Trey Drawhorn for TDRA Racing and will take the second place. Matrix Blue crashed in the bus stop with a lap car. Oh my gosh! Taylor, You can't write this stuff.
You certainly cannot write this whatsoever. Major drama coming through the final set of corners as we take a look at the replay. Was he maybe celebrating a little bit early?
No, I don't think he was. That lap car locked up.
Oh, just locked it up, had nowhere to go. And unfortunately for Bill Anderson, he will come home in third position.
That is gutting for Bill Anderson. Oh my God, what Trey Drawer must have thought there. He thought he wasn't going to get it, he was going to stay in third. He was settling for that third position, but oh my gosh, when Anderson hit that car, you could see the frustration behind Anderson. He was trying to push his way past it, trying to get back on the racetrack, but it wasn't enough. TDRA takes second, Matrix in third, Imperial Shake came across the line in fourth place with Redwood in fifth. 19th is our last battle at TGR there with Matrix Purple right behind them. And they're coming through No Name now. So still quite a bit of lap left to go here. This could change still. Keep our eyes on this one here, Taylor.
Certainly will as they come through the final set of corners here. Robert Rose trying to hold on to a strong finish here inside the top 20 as they now make the run down towards Blanchimont for the final time.
Yeah, they certainly will. Nowhere near Blanchimont yet, though. Oh, no. Yes, they are. Delayed viewing again. As Matrix Purple not going to be close enough at the moment unless we have another incident similar. We've got a car ahead of them. Oh, dives to the inside. TGR will block it up and go wide. A second time. Could he get back on? No, he can't. Through will come Matrix Purple and take that position in the last second. And that is the second time we've seen that happen in about a minute. So, the race is never over at Spa until you cross the line. Never. Well, folks, I think that was our last battle we had on the racetrack, so we're going to go to your post-race results. Winning tonight is Lone Wolf Motorsports in their 747 car, with TDRA Racing in second place. Third place, Matrix Blue, after that gutting last moment. Imperial Motorsports Shake in fourth, with Redwood Racing in fifth, winning for your Class B. Of course, it was Lone Wolf winning Class A. We have Huth Brothers Racing with Q-Cup Racing in 7th, Imperial Motorsports Bake in 8th, with Wheels Robbed Racing 9th. 10th is Two Bad Drivers. 11th place tonight will be Team GP Simsport, winning in Group C. Gem Pop Racing in 2nd. We have Equip Vitesse there in 13th. Matrix Green in 14th. Hammered Unicorns in 15th. Schlanzland Dream Team 16th. PCA Daves in 17th. Crayon Carvers 18th. Matrix Purple 19th for that last lap moment. TGR Racing in 20th. And behind them is Zone Group for Ohio plus 1 lap. In 21st, Jose Racing, Angry Turtle Racing, Matrix Red, Jakester Racing there, Measure Racing, Turtle Racing, WWZ Red, Matrix Black, 30th, Los Muchachos Motorsports, and the final 3 cars, IMS Racing, Pegasus Racing, and Housecat Racing, who were, I believe, our only retiree all race long. What an event tonight, guys. Taylor, Justin, I lived up to the hype.
They certainly did, indeed. I mean, a lot of great racing from start to finish amongst all of the groups here tonight. But of course, a dominant finish by Lone Wolf Motorsports.
Well, we're very lucky to be joined by, we have Michael Polasek and Leon Van Handel here for your interview with Lone Wolf Motorsports, 2 drivers, the drivers who had jetpacks in today's event. Whichever one of you wants to go first, we'll talk to you, Michael, first. As you drove the start of the race, how was it on track today?
It was a range of mixed emotions. I definitely didn't have as much practice as I'd like to have because I'm also prepping for the iRacing 24 Hours of Spa. So I pretty much had to build a setup in maybe 2 or 3 days, and I didn't really get the setup done until the day of the race. So the start of the race was pretty nerve-wracking because I didn't really know how the car was going to behave at the start. Sometimes it can just snap on you for no reason, but the car was really nice, well behaved. Did make a couple of mistakes here and there, but overall, I'm pretty happy with my performance today. It was a nice, solid drive. The car felt great, and we also had really good speed on the straights and in the corners.
Absolutely fantastic. We'll put it to you, Leon. Picking up the car from Michael, he'd done such a huge job, gained you so much time. How was it trying to pick that car up, and would you consider yourself the faster or the slower driver in the pairing? Let's get some tension going.
I consider myself the slower, but I mean, usually not by too much. Mike is just a league of his own in PCA. So if you're a couple tenths behind Mike, then you're doing pretty well. So picking up a car behind the other driver on old used tires is always kind of something else, right? So you have to kind of slowly build it up, and struggling a little bit on the first couple of laps with the brake balance, especially going into the bus stop. So overshot that a couple times, and kind of Mike coached me a little bit through it, moved the brake bias back, then the car kind of came to us, and then I think we started turning competitive lap times again, and we're able to bring it home. So it was good.
Well, a fantastic drive by both of you. Neither one particularly slower because the gaps were maintained equally throughout this entire race. So, a phenomenal job. Anybody you guys would like to give a shout out to or thank after the win today?
Absolutely. I'd like to thank Grand Prix New York, Lone Wolf Motorsports, and also Leon for his very, very good drive in bringing it home. I'd also like to thank all my friends and family who supported me today. And I'd also like to thank the Northern New Jersey region for all their ongoing support. And I'd also like to thank Doug and everyone else during the PCA to help create this series. It's been a lot of fun so far, and I can't wait for the remaining 2 rounds at Road Atlanta and Suzuka. And also thank you to you guys for putting on such a great broadcast of these events. It's always a pleasure to go back and watch them all.
You know what? It's a pleasure to be able to watch drivers of your caliber. So thank you guys for joining us. Lone Wolf Motorsports there, Leon Van Handel and Michael Polasek bringing it home today with the win in Group A and overall win.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We've got Ian Simon and Jason Stanley here from Q-Cup Racing. Group B winners tonight. Guys, how was it for you?
Well, not too bad after Jason qualified and got us up front and held on to the front pack for a while. We were just trying to race our Group B race from there.
Obviously a very busy race, especially with how mixed things are, of course. Starting amongst the other groups, what was your approach to the Group A and Group C guys? Was it you raced the same as anybody else in a regular race, or you're only thinking about points?
Okay, starting the race, Ian. I'm just like a stand-in for Josh Vera, who had a work trip. So I had very specific instructions, which was be fast, stay clean, and get the team some good points. So I didn't really know how I was gonna shake out qualifying because I hadn't turned any laps in the sim since May. I had to take a hiatus for an Army-sponsored camping trip. So really Monday night, a couple laps, and then today some more laps. And just picked up where I left off in the RSR from the previous season. And then just try to stay clean. The Group B top 3 guys all qualified right next to each other on the grid, so focused on getting a good start and then settling into a pace and watching the action play out. And eventually that's exactly what happened. The 3 cars ahead started dicing it up, and I came out a little bit ahead, clean through that, and then just put my head down until we got to the pit stop.
Yeah, not too bad for a stand-in.
No, not at all. But as the regular driver there, Ian, what was your overall strategy towards the other classes?
Yeah, same. We were just trying to keep clean and race our race. We were kind of stuck in the middle of a pretty tight race with some of the A group guys, so we were just trying to, keep clean and make sure we had space on them and didn't get caught up in any race that we weren't really involved in.
Makes sense.
There's even one point where I think we let them by. We didn't want to stay. We knew there was some other stuff going on. They had a damaged car, so just made the decision to let them go, not even fight for it, just so that we could keep racing our own race, not worry about theirs.
A sensible strategy. Well, guys, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or thank?
Just thank y'all for the good job that y'all do, PCA for putting this on, and Jason for filling in for me and helping us out.
I'm glad that I could be a good Josh Vieira for one stand-in race.
You made a fantastic Josh Vieira, so thank you very much, guys. Q-Cup Racing tonight was Jason Stanley and Ian Simon, so thanks for joining us.
Group C, Team GP Sim Sports with Chris Siborowski and Randall Ayers. They are with Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed. And first things first, start with you, Chris, as you close things out for your stint. Talk us through your closing stages as you try to secure a class victory for your group.
Yeah, it was a good drive. Randall did a great stint out of the gate. He drove super consistently, did the best thing that a co-driver can do, and handed over a clean car. in a great position, and based on just a bit of hard charging, was able to run down some folks and put some lap times up. So it was a real nice victory today.
What was it like from your perspective, Randall, as you had the opportunity to watch along as on the 39th cycle round, your teammate was able to get the run needed to secure the class?
Yeah, I was encouraging him the whole way. I was watching his lap times against everybody else in front, and he was consistently at least a second or 2 seconds faster. And I knew it was just a matter of time, and if we had enough time, we would catch the guys in front. But fortunately, we ran out of time. Could not quite get the top 10 finish, but we drove, I think, our best race of the season so far.
Very impressive indeed. And Chris, anyone you want to thank for your run tonight for you and your team?
Yeah, it's my teammate Randall for turning over a car and agreeing on a setup that worked for both of us. I thought that was fantastic. And then of course, the whole family at home, my wife, kids, for just like everybody else says, for putting up with me sitting in the sim seat.
Thank you very much for the time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Chris and Randall, their respective group, coming away with the group victory.
I said it was. Well, I believe that has us wrapped up with everything for tonight's event. So all we have to tell you is don't forget to tune in on Wednesday, October 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern on the PCA Sim Racing YouTube channel for Mission Raceway Road Atlanta and the next round. And for Doug Atkinson, Jim Hemming and the steering committee here at PCA Sim Racing, James Pike, Gary Sexton, Cisco Scaramuza, and John Theodore at Podium Esports, I'm our producer Ryan Bauer, my camera builder Dougie Beard, and my colleagues Justin Prince and Taylor Burris. I'm Rachel Whiteford. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the PCA Sim Racing Team Racing Series presented by Haggerty. We look forward to seeing you in October from Atlanta.